Well, hey everyone, it's me Alexander. Here we go, and probably in today's video I'll be haranguing about maybe something that I pondered for some period of time where I was when I was heading home using a small bus I had at home, riding on that small route bus as we call marshrutka, and I was heading home and I was pondering around the point that goes like, who really rules the world? And I spared something on my to sort it out maybe tomorrow, not tomorrow, but tonight I should say instead of tomorrow, not just marinated for a long while in my mind and maybe to later on your ears. And actually, if you wanna quit this channel, you may do that easily without any efforts with switching the theme up and shutting this up, and just I don't mind. I only want to talk to those audiences who might be just learning their language or want to just know more about how simple bachelor might live in his own life track, or just in his own apartment, in his hole, I should say, like little critter has its own hole in the ground. That's the way I have my own apartment, and I have a pretty nice one, and I reside here, and I always been kind of like a guy who didn't care too much about having some gal around me, and I don't care. I still don't care, and they should care, not me. That's not me who should care about that. It's only them who should care about having me by their side, and I'm not concerned about that thing at all. But I'm just about to, just for speaking practice, to drill my speaking abilities, I should mention whatever I should mention on this video shoot up tonight, and I will just maybe switching paces and switching things to speak about, and maybe what I wanted, what I was gonna say. Okay, probably for the first theme of tonight we would have something like. So I was heading home. I was striding through the complete pitch black. That was a cutout of all the electricity supplies on the whole street that I was heading through to my home, and that was friggin' mess. I'm telling you, I was lighting to myself forwarding my way to my home, and I was lighting all the way with my flashlight, which I carry all the time I'm out and I'm in. It always lays in my pocket in my leather coat over there about my right shoulder, if I'm not mistaken here. I guess I'm not under that nicest leather coat. Sits on that puff. See that puff? It's not seen because it's like a lower below the camera frame, I should say. And it's like a side note. I always get sidetracked by being sidetracked in this series of video shoots on this channel here. And okay, what was the track of my today's video? I headed home. I had a complete darkness around me, all pitch black, I would say, and it's friggin' mess, I should say. Those utility workers, they should supply us with a decent light or being on our streets. Am I right? Correct me if I'm wrong. They should, and they will. Somebody might just dislocate their ankles or hurt their legs or their feet, I should say, while heading elsewhere on that street where I live. Actually, that was harsh. That shouldn't be that way at all. And what else? Okay, back to the point, back to the track. Who really rules the world? What do you think? What do you think about that? The only thing that appears in my mind when I'm just wondering about that point is there is an opinion that some very close circle of people really rules the world. That might be oligarchs or simply just extremely immensely wealthy people and influential ones, and they are all well connected and have their tight circle of communication, and without just letting anyone else to be involved in that class society. They have their own secrets, they have their own tricks and things to be kept in secret and stuff. And also they rule governments through the entire globe. My personal guesses for that point goes like I don't really regard that some governmental things really influence something in our tight globe. I mean globe, I mean literally the globe, the sphere, the earth where we're all living, and just maybe those governments are set there for educating those people's interests who comprise the tight close circle of people whom I call rulers of our world we're all living, and their names are not familiar to the wide array of audiences. They are not just so public persons. They don't seek for any publicity or for any just official positions or whatever. They don't get any much of response from any other peeps who just multitude. I would call them multitude. Those peeps who lives elsewhere in their own countries. They follow their own life tracks. They follow their routines throughout the whole each day they live in, and they don't care about how the whole bigger picture of the world works, how it goes together, what ties do they have. Those peeps who really rule the whole societies, full countries, full governments, how they rule that stuff, how they connect together, and how they just really influence our lives here on this level where we're living. All by meaning we all, I mean like middle class, slightly higher than middle class, slightly lower than so-called middle class peeps. You know what I'm saying? And what else? Do they have really huge incomes? I really think that they do. They even don't hide them for a certain extent. And what goes about that extent, they're not just so interested about just making their whole wealth, whole their net worth to be public. They're not going to do that. They're not going to tell things as they are in their lives, and they just keep themselves like having to follow low profiles, I should say, not seeking for any publicity or just to maybe not to be familiar with the even simplest internet sources. I mean, not to say that they want and don't want to be familiar with certain internet sources. I masked slightly, mixed up with some things. Those people, they don't want to be there on internet sources to be available for simple internet search. If you type something, if you go to the Google search engine and you type there in that frame, who really rules the world, you will probably get no answer at all, because they just don't exist. They're literally hidden ones. They just exist, but they don't associate themselves with the public personalities, and they don't want to do that at all, because their audience use them. They just live happily and in a wealthy way, and just nothing, literally nothing. They have what it takes to rule the world. And let's suffice it to say that I watched one movie once that was called like Shooter or something. There was a Mark Wahlberg starring in that movie, and there was a final scene, almost the literally final frame of that complete video thing, all the footage of that film. And there was a scene in which some peeps were at some get-together, and that was a secret society of the most influential people ever. And they gathered together there. They're sitting by the bonfire, not by the bonfire, but by the simple fire that resides in the wall. That fire. They're sitting by that fire in a large room. They're all having drinks. They're all at ease, just nonchalant. They're doing literally nothing. They're slumping. They're just having the nicest time ever, chatting, bantering with each other. And when shit comes into the equation, that shooter came along, and he was about to kill them all, and finally he did, and that was pre-final scene that I've just described you, and the final one was that shooter man standing above that poor victim, the most influential dude ever. That dude was sitting in his cozy armchair, leaning backwards and just being at ease, just being very mellowed out with what happened in his life. And he was sitting like this, like doing nothing, completely nothing, slumping, just mellowing out, just literally. And there was a dude, the shooter, who came up to him looking like from upwards down to him, like literally gazing at him like this, and pointing him with the rifle. And that was the final scene that finalized all the movie that I just recalled. And the movie was Shooter, and that dude killed him. Just simply that way, he killed him, and he just was just revenged. He was revenged that way by killing that main villain in that story, and the villain was physically handicapped. By the way, he was a wheelchair man, actually, that main villain in that story, and that didn't preserve him from being killed, from being I wouldn't say he was slaughtered, literally he was assassinated. He was assassinated, that poor wheelchair villain, that story, and that was final theme that I watched in that movie, and that was lit. The whole theme was lit. Though I must say that I adore action movies, but only those ones which have very deep and ingrained sense of their whole existence. I mean, the whole thing about being filled with something. That movie was literally filled with some deep stuff, deep stuff to be think about. Literally the food for thoughts. And after I watched that movie, I started to think more about things really who rules the world, and what those people might end up with by following their wrong life tracks, their wrong attitudes, wrong attitudes, how they might end up finally, and they ended up in that movie by being just literally assassinated. And that dude, that shooter who was performed by Mark Wahlberg, he didn't regret about what had been done in that video take that finalized that whole movie that I described you right now. And that was the thing I never forget. If I don't die, I will never forget that final video shoot in that movie. And that's it. That's all what I wanted to familiarize you with. And maybe in the next episode I'll be ranting about something else. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll be ranting about nothing as always, but for the most part, recently I should say that I became clear that I should rant about something that gives you more material to speak about, and still talking and ranting and just doing blah 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 about nothing. That's my thing. It's never be going away if I don't die. We'll see how it goes. Anyways, that's been my just literally arbitrary take of speaking fluently in English, and it's up to you to decide how I was in that in this video shootout tonight. And keep practicing your English, your whatever language that would be. Keep practicing, never quit doing your own live tracks and things in your lives, and everything's gonna be fine with that then. See you all until a while, see you soon, and thanks for your attention as always. See you all until a while, see you soon, bye.